Picture this. You're 63 years old. You've raised your children. You've built a career. You've survived a marriage or two. You've learned who you are in the quiet hours of the night when nobody else is watching. You've discovered what brings you joy. You've created routines that nourish your soul. Your mornings are yours. Your evenings unfold exactly as you wish. Your weekends belong entirely to you. And then someone suggests you need a boyfriend. The world tells you that happiness requires partnership, that fulfillment demands romance, that a woman alone, regardless of her age, must be searching for someone to complete her. The magazines at the grocery store checkout promise you tips for finding love after 60. The television commercials show silver-haired couples walking hand in hand on beaches. Your well-meaning friends ask when you're going to start dating again. Your daughter worries about you being lonely. Society whispers that something must be wrong with a woman who chooses to be single. But what if they're all wrong? What if the brutal truth is that having a boyfriend after 60 might be the worst decision you could make? What if the freedom you've finally achieved after decades of compromise and sacrifice is worth infinitely more than the companionship society insists you need? What if the peace you've cultivated in your solitude is too precious to risk? Today, we're going to explore 5 brutal truths about why senior women over 60 should think very carefully before inviting a boyfriend into their lives. These aren't comfortable truths. They're not the romantic narratives we've been fed since childhood, but they are honest, they are real, and they might just save you from making a decision you'll regret. Welcome back to The Heart Code, where we explore the psychological realities of relationships, self-discovery, and personal empowerment. If you're new here, this channel is dedicated to providing honest, research-based insights into the dynamics of human connection, particularly for mature women who deserve truth over fairy tales. Before we dive deep into today's topic, I want to ask you for a small favor. If you find value in this video, if these words resonate with your experience, if you feel seen and understood, please take a moment to hit that like button. It helps this message reach other women who need to hear it. Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts or your own experiences. Your stories matter, and they help create a community of women supporting women. Share this video with friends who might benefit from this perspective. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss our content. We publish new videos regularly, all designed to empower you with psychological insights and practical wisdom. And for those of you who truly want to support this channel and help us continue creating this content, consider leaving a super thanks. Your support allows us to research, script, and produce these in-depth videos that challenge conventional wisdom and speak uncomfortable truths. Every contribution, no matter how small, makes a real difference. Now, let's talk about something nobody wants to say out loud. Let's talk about why having a boyfriend after 60 might not be the blessing everyone assumes it is. Reason 1. You've finally escaped the burden of caretaking. Let's start with the most brutal truth of all, the one that makes people uncomfortable, the one that challenges everything we've been taught about women's roles and women's purpose. For most of your life, you've been a caretaker. Think about it. Really think about it. From the moment you were old enough to understand expectations, you were taught that your value lay in how well you cared for others. You took care of your siblings when you were still a child yourself. You learned to anticipate your parents' needs, to smooth over conflicts, to make everyone else comfortable, even when you were struggling. You were praised for being helpful, for being nurturing, for putting others first. Then came marriage. Whether your marriage lasted 5 years or 50, you spent that time managing someone else's needs alongside your own. You learned his preferences. You accommodated his schedule. You adjusted your life to fit around his career, his ambitions, his comfort. Maybe he was a good man who loved you. Maybe he wasn't. But regardless, the emotional labor of maintaining that relationship fell primarily on your shoulders. You remembered his mother's birthday. You planned the social calendar. You managed the household. You anticipated conflicts before they erupted. You smoothed hurt feelings. You translated between family members who couldn't communicate effectively. You carried the mental load of remembering everything that needed to be remembered, scheduling everything that needed to be scheduled, organizing everything that needed to be organized. And then came children. For decades, your needs came last. You ate the burnt toast because the good pieces went to everyone else. You wore the old coat because the children needed new shoes. You gave up your dreams because someone had to be practical. You lost sleep nursing sick babies, comforting scared toddlers, waiting up for teenagers who stayed out too late. You attended every recital, every game, every parent-teacher conference. You bandaged scraped knees and broken hearts. You taught them to read, to drive, to navigate the world. You poured yourself out again and again and again until you forgot what it felt like to be full. Maybe you also took care of aging parents. Maybe you were the daughter who showed up, who managed medications, who arranged doctor's appointments, who made impossible decisions about nursing homes and end-of-life care. Maybe you were the one who held your mother's hand as she forgot your name, or sat by your father's bedside as he took his last breath. And through all of this, you were still expected to maintain yourself, to stay attractive, to stay pleasant, to never complain too loudly, to never demand too much, to never admit that you were drowning under the weight of everyone else's needs. But now you're 60+ years old. Your children are raised. Your parents have passed. If you were married, you're divorced or widowed. And for the first time in your entire life, you wake up in the morning and the only person you have to consider is yourself. Do you understand how precious that is? Do you understand how rare? Do you understand that most women throughout human history never experienced this freedom? You can eat whatever you want for dinner. You can eat dinner at 10 o'clock at night or not eat dinner at all. You can spend Saturday reading in bed if that's what brings you joy. You can take up a hobby that interests nobody but you. You can travel where you want to travel, when you want to travel. You can decorate your home exactly as you like it. You can go to bed early or stay up late. You can be messy or tidy according to your own preferences, not someone else's standards. Your time is your own. Your energy is your own. Your emotional bandwidth is your own. And then here comes a boyfriend. Let me tell you what happens when a woman over 60 gets a boyfriend. I've seen it hundreds of times. I've heard the same story from dozens of women who thought they wanted companionship and discovered they'd invited obligation back into their lives. At first, it seems wonderful. He calls you beautiful. He brings you flowers. He takes you to dinner. You enjoy the attention. You like having someone to share experiences with. You appreciate the physical affection. It feels good to be wanted again. But slowly, the expectations creep in. He expects you to cook for him, not asks. Expects, because that's what women do, isn't it? And you've been cooking for others your entire life, so it's natural that you'd cook for him too. So you find yourself planning meals around his preferences again. You're shopping for his favorite foods. You're spending your afternoons in the kitchen preparing dishes he enjoys. Even when you'd rather be doing something else, he expects you to manage his social life. He needs you to remember his children's birthdays, to buy gifts for his grandchildren, to organize get-togethers with friends. The mental load you finally shed descends back onto your shoulders. He expects you to be available. He calls and expects you to answer. He makes plans and expects you to accommodate them. He wants to spend every weekend together, and if you decline because you'd planned to spend time alone or with your own friends, he pouts. He makes you feel guilty for having a life that doesn't revolve around him. He expects emotional labor. He tells you about his day and expects you to listen, to empathize, to care. He has conflicts with his adult children and expects you to help him navigate them. He's stressed about money or health or aging, and he expects you to soothe his anxieties. You find yourself once again managing someone else's emotional landscape. And here's the truly brutal part, the part nobody talks about. Men over 60 come with health issues. This is not judgment, this is biology. And when you're in a relationship with a man of this age, you become by default his healthcare manager. You're the one reminding him to take his medications. You're the one noticing symptoms he ignores. You're the one pushing him to go to the doctor, making his appointments, driving him to procedures. You're the one sitting in hospital waiting rooms. You escaped caregiving only to volunteer for it again. I know what some of you are thinking. Not all men. Your boyfriend wouldn't be like that. He's different. He's independent. He takes care of himself. Maybe he is different. Maybe he's the rare man who truly doesn't expect traditional caretaking from the woman in his life. But ask yourself honestly. Look at his past relationships. Look at how his previous marriage functioned. Look at his expectations around household labor, emotional support, and daily logistics. And ask yourself an even more important question. Even if he doesn't explicitly expect you to take care of him, will you be able to stop yourself from falling into that role? After a lifetime of training, after decades of conditioning, after being taught that your worth is measured by how well you nurture others, can you truly maintain your boundaries? Many women can't, not because they're weak, but because the patterns run too deep. They start cooking for him because it seems unkind not to. They start managing his schedule because it's easier than watching him fumble. They start taking on his emotional burdens because they've spent a lifetime being the person who makes everything better. And suddenly, the freedom they'd finally achieved evaporates like morning mist. Think about your typical day right now. You wake when you want. You have your coffee the way you like it. You spend your morning however pleases you. Maybe you exercise. Maybe you work on a hobby. Maybe you call a friend. Maybe you do absolutely nothing. Your afternoon is yours. Your evening is yours. Your night is yours. Now imagine that same day with a boyfriend in it. He's texting you throughout the morning. He wants to know what you're doing for lunch. He's suggesting plans for the afternoon. He wants to come over for dinner. He expects you to be free on Saturday because there's something he wants to do. He needs to talk about a problem with his daughter. He's feeling down and needs cheering up. Your day is no longer yours. Your time is no longer yours. Your energy is no longer yours. Is companionship worth that price? For some women, perhaps it is. But for many, many women, the answer is a resounding no. The freedom to live life on their own terms, after decades of living for others, is worth infinitely more than having someone to eat dinner with. You've earned this freedom. You've paid for it with decades of service. You've sacrificed for it in ways large and small. Don't give it away lightly. Don't surrender it because society tells you that a woman needs a man. Don't trade it for the illusion of companionship that comes with strings attached. The brutal truth is that most men, even good men, even kind men, come with expectations. They've been conditioned by society just as you have. They expect women to perform emotional labor. They expect women to take care of them. And even when they don't consciously expect it, the patterns of a lifetime create dynamics that are almost impossible to escape. You've finally escaped the burden of caretaking. Think very, very carefully before you volunteer to take it up again. Reason 2. The dating pool over 60 is genuinely problematic. Now let's address something else nobody wants to say out loud, something that makes people uncomfortable because it sounds harsh, judgmental, even cruel, but it's true, and you deserve to hear the truth. The dating pool for women over 60 is, to put it bluntly, a disaster. This isn't about being negative or pessimistic. This isn't about male bashing or suggesting that all men are terrible. This is about looking at the statistical realities, the behavioral patterns, and the actual options available to women seeking relationships in their 60s and beyond. Let's start with the most basic mathematical problem. There are simply more women than men in this age bracket. Women live longer than men. For every 100 women over 60, there are approximately 83 men. And of those men, a significant percentage are married or in committed relationships. So you're already competing for a limited resource. But the scarcity isn't the real problem. The real problem is the quality of the available options. Let me break this down, and I apologize in advance for how harsh this is going to sound. But we're talking about brutal truths, and you need to understand what you're actually looking at when you consider entering the dating pool at this age. First category, men who've never been married. If a man has reached his 60s without ever being in a long-term committed relationship, there's usually a reason. Maybe he's extremely set in his ways and unable to compromise. Maybe he has attachment issues that prevented him from bonding deeply with anyone. Maybe he's been so self-centered that no woman could tolerate him long-term. Maybe he has undiagnosed mental health issues. Maybe he's been serially dating younger women and is only now looking at age-appropriate partners because younger women won't have him anymore. Are there exceptions? Of course. Maybe he was caring for aging parents. Maybe he was dedicated to a career that left no room for relationships. Maybe he's genuinely wonderful and just unlucky in love. But exceptions are rare. Most men who reach their 60s unmarried have patterns and issues that prevented successful relationships throughout their lives. Those patterns don't disappear with age. They typically intensify. Second category, divorced men. This is the largest group, and it's a mixed bag. Some divorced men learned from their failed marriages. They did the work of self-reflection. They went to therapy. They examined their own contributions to the breakdown of their relationships. They grew and evolved and emerged as better partners. But many divorced men did nothing of the sort. They blamed their ex-wives for everything. They painted themselves as victims. They learned nothing except that women are difficult and marriage is a trap. They carry resentment and bitterness that colors every interaction with women. They have unresolved anger that leaks out in passive-aggressive comments and controlling behaviors. And here's something crucial to understand. Many men who divorce in their 50s or 60s were married for decades. They married young, before they'd fully developed their identities, before they'd examined their beliefs and values. Their wives often did the work of shaping them into functional adults. Their wives managed their emotions, facilitated their relationships, organized their lives. When these men divorce, they often have no idea how to function independently. They don't know how to manage a household. They don't know how to maintain friendships. They don't know how to process emotions. They're looking for someone to replace the services their wives provided. They're not looking for a partner. They're looking for a new mommy-wife therapist housekeeper. Then there's a particularly insidious subset of divorced men, those who are recently separated and not emotionally ready for a new relationship, but desperately don't want to be alone. These men will love bomb you. They'll move fast. They'll talk about serious commitment after only a few dates. They'll make you feel special and chosen and desired. And then 6 months or a year in, when they've processed their divorce and gotten their confidence back, they'll suddenly decide they're not ready for commitment after all. Or they'll realize they're not actually attracted to you. Or they'll confess they're still in love with their ex-wife. Or they'll simply ghost you because they've found someone younger. You were never their partner. You were their emotional support animal during a difficult transition. You were the Band-Aid they used to cover the wound of their failed marriage. And once they'd healed, They discarded you without a second thought. Third category, widowers. In theory, these should be the best options. Men who had successful marriages, who loved their wives, who know how to be in committed relationships. And some widowers are exactly that. But many widowers bring their own set of problems. Some are still deeply in love with their late wives. You'll spend your entire relationship being compared to a ghost. Nothing you do will measure up to his memories of her. He'll tell you stories about how she cooked his favorite meal perfectly, how she organized the house exactly right, how she understood him completely. You'll be a poor substitute for the woman he truly wants, who happens to be dead. Some widowers are simply looking for a replacement. They're not interested in you as an individual. They're interested in recreating what they had. They want you to fill the wife-shaped hole in their lives. They want you to take over the routines his late wife established. They want you to meet the needs she met. Your own personality, your own preferences, your own way of doing things. Irrelevant. You're not a person to them. You're a role to be filled. And some widowers carry tremendous guilt about dating again. They feel like they're betraying their late wives. This guilt manifests in all sorts of toxic ways. They'll keep you a secret from their adult children. They'll refuse to introduce you to friends. They'll maintain shrines to their deceased wives in their homes. They'll pull back just when the relationship seems to be deepening because moving forward feels like disloyalty. You'll never be a priority. You'll never feel fully chosen. You'll exist in the shadow of a dead woman, and that shadow is impossible to escape. Fourth category, and this is a big one, men with serious health problems. As I mentioned earlier, men over 60 often have health issues: heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, arthritis, mobility issues, cognitive decline, prostate problems. The list goes on. Some men manage these conditions responsibly. They follow their treatment plans, take their medications, maintain healthy lifestyles, but many don't. Many men have spent decades ignoring their health, eating poorly, avoiding exercise, skipping doctor appointments. Now they're paying the price, and they're looking for someone to help them manage the consequences of their own neglect. Do you really want to sign up to be a nurse for a man who couldn't be bothered to take care of himself? Do you want to spend your 60s and 70s managing someone else's declining health? Do you want your freedom curtailed because your boyfriend needs help with activities of daily living? And let's be blunt about something else. Men over 60 who are dating often have one primary motivation. They want sex, but they also want someone to take care of them as they age. They want a live-in nurse who will also sleep with them. They're planning ahead for their decline, and they want to secure a caretaker while they're still functional enough to attract one. Fifth category, men who are specifically targeting women their own age because younger women won't date them anymore. These are often men who spent their 40s and 50s dating women 10, 15, 20 years younger. Now they're in their 60s, and those younger women are no longer interested. They're not dating age-appropriate women because they've developed respect for women their own age. They're dating age-appropriate women because they have no other choice. These men often carry resentment about aging. They wish they could still attract 25-year-olds. They look at 60-year-old women as a consolation prize. They'll compare you unfavorably to the younger women they used to date. They'll make comments about your aging body that reveal their disgust and disappointment. They're settling for you, and they make sure you know it. Sixth category, men who are emotionally stunted. Men who never developed emotional intelligence, who can't communicate effectively, who don't understand or care about their own feelings, let alone yours. Men who've spent their lives avoiding vulnerability and intimacy. Men who equate masculinity with stoicism and strength, who've never learned to express affection or appreciation or love. These men will frustrate you endlessly. You'll try to have conversations about feelings, about the relationship, about needs and wants, and you'll hit a wall. They'll shut down. They'll change the subject. They'll get angry. They'll accuse you of being too emotional or too demanding. You'll feel lonely in the relationship because true intimacy requires emotional availability, and these men are emotionally bankrupt. 7th category, men with addiction issues. Alcohol, gambling, pornography, shopping. Whatever the addiction, it will dominate the relationship. You'll become collateral damage to their disease. You'll spend your time managing their addiction, covering for them, enabling them, or fighting with them about it. Your life will revolve around their problem. Your peace will be shattered by their chaos. 8th category, abusive men. Yes, men over 60 can absolutely be emotionally, psychologically, financially, or even physically abusive. Age doesn't cure abuse. If anything, some men become more abusive as they age and feel their power and control slipping away. They become more rigid, more demanding, more controlling. They lash out more frequently. Their filters disappear. And here's something particularly insidious. Many abusive men specifically target women over 60. They assume these women are desperate for companionship, grateful for attention, more forgiving of bad behavior. They assume these women have been socialized to tolerate mistreatment, to excuse male bad behavior, to make endless excuses for the men in their lives. They're often right. Now, I can already hear the objections. Not all men. There are good men out there. You're being too negative. You're going to make women afraid to date. Fine. Let's say you beat the odds. Let's say you find one of the rare, genuinely good men in the over 60 dating pool. A man who's emotionally healthy, financially stable, physically functional, genuinely kind, properly single, and legitimately interested in an equal partnership with a woman his own age. Do you know what happens then? You have competition. Every other woman looking for a relationship wants him too. He has options. He knows he has options. And the cold, hard truth is that men with options often don't choose women their own age. They choose younger women, maybe not women in their 20s, but women in their 40s and 50s, women whose society still considers attractive, women who haven't yet crossed the invisible line into old. I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying this because you need to understand the reality of the marketplace. The few high-quality men available are not sitting around waiting for 60-year-old women to date them. They're being pursued by women of all ages, and they're often choosing the youngest, most conventionally attractive options available. So where does that leave you? Competing for scraps. Trying to make yourself appealing to men who have far more options than you do. Accepting behavior you'd never have tolerated when you were younger because the alternative is being alone, compromising your standards, your boundaries, your self-respect, all for the sake of having a boyfriend. Is it worth it? Consider also the sheer exhaustion of dating at this age, the process of meeting men, assessing them, determining if there's compatibility, navigating the early stages of courtship. It's tiresome when you're 25. It's absolutely draining when you're 65. You have to create dating profiles. You have to sift through messages from men who can't spell or can't write a complete sentence or who immediately ask for nude photos. You have to meet strangers for coffee or drinks, making small talk, pretending to be interested in their stories about their golf games and their grandchildren and their medical procedures. You have to endure bad dates with boring men, awkward dates with socially inept men, uncomfortable dates with creepy men. You have to navigate the bizarre new world of online dating with its swipe culture and its ghost culture and its endless options that somehow never result in meaningful connections. You have to learn new technology, new platforms, new social conventions that feel alien and exhausting. And for what? For the privilege of sorting through a dating pool full of men with serious issues, limited self-awareness, and extensive baggage? For the chance to maybe, possibly, if you're extraordinarily lucky, find someone who isn't a complete disaster. Many women over 60 report that dating feels like a second job they never wanted. It's work, it's emotional labor, it's time and energy and mental bandwidth that could be spent on things that actually bring joy and fulfillment. Here's another brutal truth. Many men over 60 have terrible hygiene. They wear the same outfit multiple times without washing it. They have food stains on their shirts. Their breath is bad. They don't trim their nose hair or ear hair. They've given up on maintaining their appearance because they figure they're old, so why bother? Women over 60, on the other hand, are still expected to maintain themselves, to color their gray hair, to wear makeup, to dress nicely, to stay thin, to exercise, to moisturize and anti-age, and do everything possible to remain attractive. The standards are completely different, and they're completely unfair. You'll show up to a date having spent an hour getting ready, wearing a nice outfit, having done your hair and makeup. He'll show up in wrinkled khakis and a stained polo shirt, having done nothing but brush his teeth maybe. You're expected to make an effort. He's not. You're expected to be attractive. He's not. This isn't about being shallow. This is about respect. A man who can't be bothered to present himself well for a date doesn't respect you. A man who assumes you should be grateful for his attention, regardless of how he looks, doesn't respect you. A man who puts no effort into his appearance but judges yours is not a man worth your time. Let me share some stories I've heard from women who braved the dating pool in their 60s. Margaret, 64, went on a date with a man who spent 2 hours complaining about his ex-wife. Then he asked Margaret to split the check. Then he tried to pressure her into coming back to his place. When she declined, he called her a tease and blocked her number. Susan, 67, dated a man for 3 months before discovering he was still legally married and living with his wife, who he claimed to be separated from, but obviously wasn't. He'd been using Susan for sex and companionship while maintaining his marriage. Patricia, 62, fell in love with a widower who seemed perfect. 6 months in, she discovered he'd been simultaneously dating 3 other women and telling all of them they were exclusive. When confronted, he said he was just keeping his options open and she was foolish to assume otherwise. Linda, 69, dated a man who seemed financially stable. After a year, she learned he was deeply in debt and had been using her to pay for dates, dinners, and vacations he couldn't afford. He expected her to support him. Rachel, 65, met a man who love-bombed her intensely for the first month. He talked about marriage. He introduced her to his family. He made her feel like she'd found her soulmate. Then he suddenly ghosted her completely. No explanation, no closure, just vanished. These aren't unusual stories. These are typical stories. This is the reality of dating over 60 for women. Now let me ask you something. What are you actually getting from having a boyfriend that you can't get from friends, family, hobbies, travel, community involvement, creative pursuits, or simple solitude? Companionship. You can have rich, fulfilling companionship through friendships. Deep, meaningful friendships with women who understand you, support you, challenge you, and enrich your life. Friendships without the expectations, demands, and complications of romantic relationships. Physical affection. You can get that from grandchildren, from pets, from professional massage therapists, from hugging friends. If you specifically want sexual contact, there are ways to meet that need without entering into a committed relationship with all its attendant obligations. Someone to do things with? You can join groups, take classes, go on group tours, volunteer, attend events. There are endless ways to have social engagement and shared experiences without tying yourself to one person. Emotional intimacy. Again, deep friendships can provide this. So can therapy, so can support groups, so can meaningful conversations with family members. Emotional intimacy doesn't require romance. Financial security. If you're financially unstable, adding a boyfriend to your life is more likely to drain your resources than enhance them. Men over 60 are often looking for women to support them, not the other way around. So what's left? What does a boyfriend actually offer that justifies the cost to your freedom, your peace, your autonomy? For most women, when they're truly honest with themselves, the answer is not much. The fantasy of a boyfriend, the idea of romance, the social acceptance of being coupled, these things might seem appealing, but the reality is usually disappointing at best and disastrous at worst. The brutal truth is that the dating pool over 60 is a minefield. Most of the available men have serious issues that will cause you pain, frustration, and regret. The few good men are rare as unicorns and pursued by everyone, and the process of finding anyone, good or bad, is exhausting and soul-crushing. You're better off investing your time, energy, and emotional resources into literally anything else. Build your friendships, deepen your relationship with yourself, pursue your interests and passions, create the life you want, full of meaning and purpose and joy, without waiting for some man to appear and make it complete, because here's the final, brutal truth about the dating pool over 60. You don't need to swim in it at all. The shore is far more pleasant, far more peaceful, and far more fulfilling than drowning among men who aren't worth your time. Reason 3. Your financial independence is too valuable to risk. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about the financial realities of relationships after 60. Let's talk about the very real risks to your economic security that come with having a boyfriend at this stage of life. This is perhaps the most practical, most concrete of the brutal truths we're discussing today. This isn't about emotions or psychology or social expectations. This is about cold, hard numbers. This is about protecting assets you've spent a lifetime accumulating. This is about safeguarding your future when you no longer have time to recover from financial mistakes. If you're a woman over 60 with any degree of financial stability, you are a target. That sounds paranoid, that sounds cynical, but it's true. Let me explain the financial landscape for men over 60. Many are not doing well economically. They might have gone through expensive divorces that split their assets in half. They might have made poor investment decisions over the years. They might have spent their prime earning years without proper planning for retirement. They might have health issues that have drained their savings. They might be supporting adult children or grandchildren. They might have debts they can't pay off. According to research, a significant percentage of Americans over 65 have inadequate retirement savings. Many are living primarily on Social Security, which is barely enough to survive on. Many are still working because they can't afford to retire. Many are facing the reality that they'll never be able to fully retire. Now, not all men in this age bracket are financially struggling, but many are. And those who are struggling are looking for solutions to their problems. And one potential solution is finding a woman with money. This isn't romantic. This isn't about companionship and shared sunsets. This is about financial predation, and it happens more often than you'd think. Let me tell you how it works. Stage 1, the assessment. He meets you. He starts asking questions that seem casual, innocuous. Where do you live? Oh, do you own your home? That's wonderful. How long have you lived there? The house must be worth quite a bit now. Do you still work, or are you retired? What did you do before retirement? Oh, you must have a nice pension from that. Do you travel much? That trip sounds expensive. You must be doing well for yourself. He's gathering information. He's assessing your assets. He's determining whether you're worth pursuing financially. Stage 2, the sob story. Once he's determined you have resources, he'll share his struggles. He'll tell you about his expensive divorce and how his ex-wife took him to the cleaners. He'll mention his medical bills. He'll talk about helping his daughter who's going through a rough time. He'll explain why he's still working when he should be retired. He'll paint a picture of financial stress that seems noble, even admirable. He's not irresponsible. He's just had bad luck. He's just been too generous. He's just been a victim of circumstances beyond his control. He's building sympathy. He's priming you to want to help him. Stage 3, the small requests. He suggests you split the check at dinner, even though he initiated the date. He accepts when you offer to pay. He mentions he's short on cash this week when you're planning an outing. Nothing major. Nothing that sets off alarms. Just small moments where money flows from you to him instead of the traditional direction. You tell yourself you're being modern, egalitarian. You tell yourself it doesn't matter who pays. You tell yourself he's going through a temporary rough patch. You tell yourself he'll reciprocate when he's in a better financial position. Stage 4, the escalation. Now the requests get bigger. His car breaks down. Could you loan him some money for the repair? He'll pay you back next month. His rent is due and he's short. Could you help him out just this once? He needs dental work his insurance won't cover. It's an emergency. His daughter needs help with her security deposit. He hates to ask, but could you possibly? Each request comes with promises of repayment. Each request comes with explanations of why this is temporary, exceptional, a one-time thing. Each request comes with emotional manipulation. He's embarrassed to ask. He's grateful for your generosity. He doesn't know what he'd do without you. You're so kind, so understanding, so wonderful. And you, having been conditioned your entire life to be helpful, to be nurturing, to solve problems for the people you care about, you give him the money because you love him, because you believe him, because you want to believe that your relationship is about more than just money. Stage 5, the integration. Now he's suggesting you move in together. Think how much money you'd both save. You could split expenses. You could sell one of your homes. You could combine your resources. It just makes financial sense. Or he's talking about marriage, about how wonderful it would be to be officially together, about how you could take care of each other, about how you're already like a married couple anyway. He's not talking about love and commitment. He's talking about gaining legal access to your assets. If you move in together, he'll gradually stop contributing to household expenses. His money will always be tied up in some emergency, some obligation, some expense. But he'll expect to share your home, your food, your utilities, your resources. Your life will fund his life. If you marry him, the situation becomes exponentially more dangerous. Depending on your jurisdiction, marriage could give him legal rights to your assets, your pension, your social security, benefits, your property, your savings, your inheritance. And if you die first, he could inherit everything you've spent a lifetime building, leaving nothing for your children, your grandchildren, your chosen heirs. Stage 6, the complete drain. Now you're fully enmeshed. You're paying for everything. His credit cards, his car payment, his medical expenses, his adult children's needs, his lifestyle. He's living off you completely, and he's justifying it with stories about how temporary this is, how he's working on getting back on his feet, how grateful he is, how he'll make it up to you someday. That someday never comes. You look at your bank accounts and realize you've been steadily depleting them. You look at your budget and realize you're funding 2 lives on resources meant for one. You look at your financial projections and realize you might not be able to maintain your lifestyle if this continues. But now you're in deep. You're emotionally attached. You've invested so much. You've told yourself and everyone else that this relationship is wonderful. Walking away means admitting you were used. Walking away means facing the humiliation of having been fooled. Walking away means being alone again. So many women stay. They stay and watch their savings dwindle. They stay and sacrifice their own financial security. They stay and jeopardize their futures because leaving feels harder than staying. Let me be very clear. I'm not saying every man over 60 is a financial predator. I'm not saying every relationship involves financial exploitation, but financial exploitation is common enough that you need to be extremely cautious. And even in relationships where there's no intentional predation, financial problems still arise. Many men over 60 have expensive health problems, as we've discussed. If you're in a relationship with such a man, you'll end up contributing to those expenses. Medications, doctor visits, medical procedures, home care, medical equipment. The costs add up quickly, and somehow you'll find yourself paying for more and more of them. Many men over 60 have adult children with problems, financial problems, mental health problems, addiction problems, relationship problems, and these men feel obligated to help their children, which means their money, and often your money, flows towards solving problems that may never be solved. Many men over 60 have lifestyle expectations that exceed their financial means. They want to eat at nice restaurants, they want to take vacations, they want to maintain a certain standard of living, and if their own finances can't support these desires, they'll expect yours to fill the gap. Here's another financial risk nobody talks about. Liability. If your boyfriend lives with you and gets injured on your property, you could be liable. If your boyfriend drives your car and causes an accident, you could be liable. If your boyfriend runs up debts in your shared household, you could be liable. The financial entanglement of a relationship creates risks you don't face when you live alone. And let's talk about the end of the relationship. Whether it ends through breakup or death, there are financial consequences. If you break up, you might have to deal with dividing shared assets. If he's been living in your home, you might have to deal with eviction proceedings. If you've been supporting him, he might feel entitled to continued support. If you've made him beneficiary on any accounts or policies, you'll need to change those designations. The financial disentanglement can be complex and costly. If he dies, you might be stuck with his debts, funeral expenses, outstanding bills. If you were married or if he listed you as responsible on any accounts, creditors might come after you. His adult children might contest his will or make claims against his estate, creating legal headaches and expenses. And here's something women often don't consider: the opportunity cost. Every dollar you spend on a boyfriend is a dollar you don't have for yourself. Every financial decision you make, considering his needs and wants, is a decision that doesn't optimize for your benefit. That money you loaned him, you could have invested it. That money you spent helping him with his expenses, you could have used it to travel, to pursue hobbies, to give to your grandchildren, to donate to causes you care about. That money is gone. The opportunity to use it for your own purposes is gone. And opportunities don't come back when you're over 60. You don't have decades to recover from financial mistakes. You don't have time to rebuild depleted savings. You don't have the earning potential you once had. Every financial decision becomes more critical, more permanent, more consequential. You cannot afford to make mistakes. You cannot afford to be generous to someone who doesn't deserve it. You cannot afford to prioritize someone else's financial well-being over your own. Now let's talk about your assets specifically. Your home. If you own your home outright or have significant equity, this is probably your largest asset. This is your security. This is potentially your ability to fund long-term care if you need it. This is your inheritance for your children. Do you really want to risk this asset by having a boyfriend move in? Do you want to create a scenario where he might have legal claims on your property? Do you want someone else's name on your deed? Do you want to complicate the inheritance process for your heirs, your retirement accounts, your IRA, your 401k, your pension, whatever retirement vehicles you have? These are sacrosanct. These are your guaranteed income for the rest of your life. These should never, ever be touched to benefit a boyfriend. These should never be accessible to anyone but you. Yet I've heard stories of women who withdrew from retirement accounts to help boyfriends with emergencies, who changed beneficiary designations to include boyfriends, who used retirement funds to support shared lifestyles. These decisions are almost always regretted. Retirement funds should be completely off limits to romantic partners, your savings and investments. You've hopefully built up some cushion, some emergency funds, some investment accounts. These represent your flexibility, your ability to handle unexpected expenses, your security blanket. Guard them zealously. Don't loan from them. Don't spend them on boyfriends. Don't make them accessible to anyone who isn't you. Your income streams, social security, pension payments, investment income, rental income, whatever brings money into your life each month. These are your lifeline. Don't let a boyfriend become dependent on these funds. Don't let his lifestyle depend on your income. Don't create a situation where your resources are supporting two people. Think about the future. Think about long-term care. The statistics say that you'll likely need some form of long-term care in your 80s or 90s. This care is expensive, staggeringly expensive. Depending on your location and the level of care needed, you could be looking at $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 per month. If you've depleted your savings supporting a boyfriend, where will the money for your care come from? If you've put a boyfriend on your accounts or deed or beneficiary designations, will those funds even be available when you need them? Your financial security isn't just about your comfort today. It's about your care tomorrow. It's about maintaining independence when your body starts failing. It's about having choices instead of being dependent on others' charity. A boyfriend can jeopardize all of that. I want you to imagine two scenarios. In the first scenario, you're 85 years old. You're starting to need help with daily activities. You're researching assisted living facilities, and you can afford the nice one. The one with beautiful grounds and private rooms and excellent care. You can afford it because you protected your financial assets in your 60s. You didn't deplete them supporting a boyfriend. You didn't make poor financial decisions in the name of love. In the second scenario, you're 85 years old with the same needs, but your money is gone. You spent it on a boyfriend who's now dead or gone or never really appreciated your sacrifice. Your children can't afford to care for you. The only facility you can afford is the bare-bones Medicaid-funded option with shared rooms and minimal care. Which scenario do you want to be your reality? Financial independence is freedom. It's security. It's power. It's the ability to make choices. It's the difference between a comfortable old age and a desperate one. Don't gamble with it. Don't risk it for companionship. Don't jeopardize it for romance. Don't throw it away on a man who isn't worth it. Because here's the final brutal truth about finances and relationships after 60. Men who are genuinely, financially secure and responsible don't need your money and won't ask for it. Men who are always having financial emergencies, who are always short on cash, who are always needing help, these men will drain you dry and feel entitled to do so. Protect your assets, protect your future, protect your independence. It's worth infinitely more than having a boyfriend. Reason 4, you've finally discovered who you are and you don't need to compromise anymore. Let's talk about something precious, something rare, something that many people never achieve in their entire lives. Let's talk about knowing yourself, truly knowing yourself, understanding who you are at your core, what matters to you, what brings you joy, what you value, what you believe, what you want from life. This kind of self-knowledge doesn't come easily. It doesn't come quickly. It comes from decades of experience. It comes from surviving hardships. It comes from questioning assumptions. It comes from making mistakes and learning from them. It comes from peeling away the layers of conditioning and expectation to find the authentic self underneath. If you're over 60, you've had time to do this work. You've had time to figure out who you are when nobody else is watching. You've had time to discover your preferences, your boundaries, your non-negotiables. You've had time to shed the beliefs and behaviors that never really fit you. You've had time to grow into yourself. Do you remember what it was like when you were younger? When you molded yourself to fit other people's expectations? When you suppressed parts of yourself because they weren't acceptable or convenient? When you pretended to like things you didn't like? When you agreed to things you didn't agree with? When you shaped yourself into whatever form seemed most likely to win approval, love, acceptance? Most women do this for decades. They become chameleons, adapting to whatever environment or relationship they find themselves in. They learn to read other people's needs and adjust accordingly. They learn to minimize themselves to make others comfortable. They learn to compromise, accommodate, adjust, adapt, yield, defer. They lose themselves in the process. But something happens in your 50s and 60s. The people you've been performing for start mattering less. Your parents are gone, and you no longer need to live up to their expectations. Your children are grown, and you're released from the intensive demands of motherhood. Society has largely dismissed you as irrelevant, which paradoxically gives you freedom from its judgment. And in this space, this freedom from external pressure, you begin to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You begin to discover who you are now, shaped by experience but no longer constrained by obligation. Maybe you discover you actually hate hosting dinner parties, something you did for decades because it was expected. Maybe you discover you prefer solitude to constant socialization, even though you were taught that women should be social butterflies. Maybe you discover you're more introverted than you ever admitted. Maybe you discover you're more adventurous than you ever allowed yourself to be. Maybe you discover you don't actually like the foods you've been cooking for years. You only cooked them because your family liked them. Maybe you discover you prefer dogs to cats, or cats to dogs, or no pets at all, contrary to what you always thought. Maybe you discover you'd rather read than watch television. Maybe you discover you'd rather hike than shop. You discover your rhythms. You're a morning person or a night owl. You need lots of sleep or you're fine with little. You need structure or you thrive in flexibility. You need social interaction or you need solitude. You need physical activity or you need rest. You need intellectual stimulation or you need simplicity. You discover your values, what actually matters to you, not what you were told should matter. Maybe family is central, or maybe it's not as central as you pretended. Maybe career achievement matters, or maybe it never really did. Maybe accumulating wealth matters, or maybe experiences matter more. Maybe organized religion matters, or maybe spirituality takes a different form, or maybe neither matters much at all. You discover your boundaries, what you will and won't tolerate, what treatment you'll accept and what you'll reject, what behaviors you'll excuse and what you'll walk away from, what compromises you'll make and what compromises are non-negotiable. This self-knowledge is precious. This clarity is rare. This authenticity is hard-won. You've earned it through decades of living. You've paid for it with years of confusion and compromise. You've achieved it through introspection and honesty and courage. And then a boyfriend comes along. Do you know what happens when you enter a relationship? You start compromising again, not necessarily because the man is demanding or controlling, though he might be, just because relationships require compromise, because two people have to find ways to mesh their lives together, because accommodation is necessary when you're sharing space and time and experiences. You start molding yourself again, not as dramatically as you did when you were younger, perhaps, but still, you adjust, you accommodate, you yield, you defer. He prefers action movies and you prefer dramas, so you watch more action movies than you'd choose on your own. He likes to eat early and you prefer eating late, so you adjust your schedule. He wants to spend holidays with his family and you'd rather travel, so you do what he wants. He needs quiet when he's stressed, and you process stress by talking, so you learn to be quiet. Little by little, piece by piece, you start shrinking yourself again to make room for someone else. You start considering his preferences before your own. You start adjusting your life to accommodate his presence. And the thing is, you might not even notice it happening, because this is what you've been trained to do for your entire life. This is what women are taught, that love means sacrifice, that relationships require selflessness, that caring for someone means putting their needs before your own. But here's what you've learned by now in your 60s, if you've been paying attention. That model of relationships is deeply flawed. It leads to resentment. It leads to loss of self. It leads to women waking up one day and realizing they have no idea who they are anymore because they've spent so long being whatever everyone else needed them to be. You've escaped that trap. You've reclaimed yourself. You know who you are now. Do you really want to risk losing that clarity? Think about the daily compromises. You like your home a certain way. You've arranged your space exactly as you like it. Everything has its place. Everything reflects your taste, your personality, your needs. Your home is your sanctuary, your refuge, your expression of self. A boyfriend will change that. His stuff will appear. His preferences will intrude. His way of doing things will conflict with yours. You'll negotiate and compromise until your space no longer feels entirely yours. You like your routines. You've established rhythms that work for you. You wake at a certain time. You have your coffee a certain way. You exercise or don't exercise according to your own schedule. You eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're tired. Your days unfold according to your own internal clock. A boyfriend will disrupt that. His schedule will conflict with yours. His routines will clash with yours. You'll adjust and accommodate until your days no longer flow the way you'd choose. You like your social life a certain way. Maybe you're very social with lots of friends and activities. Maybe you're more reserved with a small circle of close connections. Maybe you're somewhere in between. Whatever your preference, you've created a social life that suits you. A boyfriend will alter that. He'll want you to spend time with his friends and family. He'll want to be included in your social activities. He'll have opinions about your friendships. You'll find yourself attending events you don't want to attend, spending time with people you don't particularly like, all because you're part of a couple now. You have interests and hobbies that matter to you, things you do that bring you joy, fulfillment, meaning. Maybe you paint, maybe you garden, maybe you write, maybe you volunteer, maybe you travel, maybe you study languages or history or philosophy, maybe you play music, maybe you practice yoga, maybe you collect something, maybe you've finally taken up something you always wanted to do, but never had time for when you were younger. A boyfriend will impact your ability to pursue these interests. He'll want your time, he'll want your attention, he'll want to do things together. And while shared activities can be wonderful, they come at the cost of solo pursuits. You'll have less time for the things that feed your soul because you're spending that time on relationship maintenance. You've developed opinions about everything: politics, religion, social issues, how to spend money, how to spend time, what matters and what doesn't. You've formed these opinions through experience and reflection. They're yours. They're authentic. They represent your genuine beliefs. A boyfriend might challenge these opinions. Maybe his political views conflict with yours. Maybe his religious beliefs differ from yours. Maybe his values don't align with yours. You'll have conversations that force you to explain and defend positions you shouldn't have to defend in your own life. You'll feel pressure, subtle or overt, to modify your views to maintain peace. And even if he's supportive, even if he respects your opinions, you'll still find yourself considering his perspective, tempering your expressions, moderating your positions, because that's what you do in relationships. You make space for the other person's worldview. Here's what I want you to understand. Every compromise you make, no matter how small, is a movement away from your authentic self. Every accommodation is a dilution of your hard-won clarity. Every adjustment is a step back toward the people-pleasing patterns you've finally escaped. And over time, these small compromises accumulate. They add up, they compound, until one day you look around and realize you're living a version of your life that doesn't quite fit anymore. You're not being entirely yourself anymore. You're being a compromised version of yourself, modified to accommodate someone else's presence. Is companionship worth that price? Some women would say yes. They'd say compromise is part of any relationship. They'd say two people have to make adjustments to build a life together. They'd say it's selfish to refuse to accommodate a partner. But here's what I believe. After working with hundreds of women navigating these questions, by the time you're 60, you've compromised enough. You've accommodated enough. You've adjusted enough. You've spent decades being flexible, being understanding, being willing to bend. You've earned the right to be inflexible now. You've earned the right to insist on having your life exactly as you want it. You've earned the right to refuse to compromise anymore. This isn't selfish, this is self-preservation. This is honoring the decades it took to figure out who you are. This is respecting the work you've done to become your authentic self. This is choosing not to betray yourself for the sake of a relationship. Think about what you know about yourself now. Think about the clarity you've achieved. Think about how good it feels to live in alignment with your true self, to make choices that reflect your genuine preferences, to spend your time on things that actually matter to you. Would you trade that clarity for the confusion of accommodating someone else's needs and wants? Would you trade that authenticity for the performance of being who someone else needs you to be? Would you trade that peace for the constant negotiation of two people trying to mesh incompatible lives? Many women would say no. They'd say their self-knowledge is too valuable. Their authenticity is too precious. Their clarity is too hard-won. They'd say they'd rather be alone and fully themselves than coupled and compromised. And you know what? That's a beautiful answer. That's a wise answer. That's an answer that honors the journey you've been on and the person you've become. You've spent your youth accommodating others. You've spent your middle age raising children and managing households and supporting partners. You've spent decades being flexible and understanding and willing to compromise. Your 60s and beyond. Those years are yours. Those years are for living as your authentic self, without apology, without compromise, without molding yourself to fit someone else's expectations. Don't give that away. Don't trade your hard-won authenticity for the hollow promise of companionship. Don't betray yourself by shrinking again to make room for a man who isn't worth the cost. Because here's the final brutal truth about self-knowledge and relationships. Once you truly know yourself, once you've done the work of becoming authentic, most relationships will feel like constraints. Most partners will feel like obligations. Most compromises will feel like betrayals of your true self. You can be yourself fully and completely, or you can have a boyfriend, but you probably can't have both. And if you're honest about which matters more, if you're truly connected to your authentic self, the answer is obvious. You matter more. Your authenticity matters more. Your self-knowledge matters more. Your peace matters more. Don't compromise it for anyone. Reason 5. Your time is limited and too valuable to waste on disappointing relationships. Let's talk about the most brutal truth of all, the one that underlies everything we've discussed, the one that makes every other consideration more urgent, more pressing, more important. You're going to die. I know, that's harsh, that's uncomfortable. Nobody wants to think about mortality, but it's the fundamental reality of being human, and it's especially relevant when you're over 60. At 60, 65, 70, you don't have unlimited time left. You might have 5 years, you might have 10, you might have 20, you might have 30 if you're exceptionally lucky and healthy. But you don't have forever. The clock is ticking. The sand is running through the hourglass. Every day that passes is a day you'll never get back. This isn't pessimism. This isn't morbidity. This is reality. And this reality should inform every decision you make about how to spend your remaining time. So let me ask you a question. Do you want to spend your limited, precious, irreplaceable time managing a disappointing relationship? Do you want to spend your final years accommodating a man who doesn't appreciate you? Do you want to waste your time on someone who isn't worth it? Because here's what I've observed after working with countless women in your age bracket. Most relationships formed after 60 are disappointing. They don't live up to expectations. They don't deliver on their promises. They consume time and energy without providing equivalent value. Women enter these relationships with hopes. They imagine companionship, romance, partnership, support. They imagine having someone to share experiences with, someone to laugh with, someone to face the challenges of aging with. They imagine growing old together, whatever that means, in some beautiful, harmonious, fulfilling way. And what they actually get is much less inspiring. They get a man who expects them to take care of him. They get someone who demands their time without appreciating it. They get someone who takes more than he gives. They get someone who disappoints them regularly. They get someone who's less than they hoped for, less than they deserve, less than they need. And they stay. They stay because they've invested time. They stay because they don't want to be alone. They stay because starting over seems too daunting. They stay because they've told everyone how happy they are. They stay because leaving feels like admitting failure, so they waste months, years, potentially the rest of their lives in relationships that don't fulfill them, in relationships that drain them, in relationships that, if they're being honest, they'd be happier without. Is that how you want to spend your remaining time? Let's do some math. Let's say you're 65 years old. Let's say you have a realistic life expectancy of 85, giving you 20 years left. That's 7,300 days. That's 170 of 200 hours. Sounds like a lot, right? It's not. Sleep takes about 8 hours a day. That's 58,400 hours, leaving you with 116,800 hours of waking life. Personal care, meals, basic life maintenance takes another few hours a day. Let's say 3 hours. That's 21,900 hours, leaving you with 90,900 hours. If you have health problems, medical appointments, and health management can easily consume 5 to 10 hours per week. Let's be conservative and say 5 hours per week. That's 5,200 hours, leaving you with 89,700 hours. Household management, shopping, cooking, cleaning, errands, even if you're efficient, takes time. Let's say 10 hours per week. That's 10,400 hours, leaving you with 79,300 hours. So out of the 20 years you might have left, you actually have about 79,300 hours of truly discretionary time. Time you can spend on what matters to you. Time you can allocate to pursuits and people and experiences of your choosing. 79,300 hours. That's your budget. That's what you have left to work with. Now let's think about what a boyfriend costs in terms of time. A typical relationship, even a healthy one, requires significant time investment, communication, quality time together, coordinating schedules, managing the relationship, dealing with his family, supporting him through challenges, working through conflicts. Let's be very conservative and say a boyfriend requires just 10 hours per week of your time. That's 10 hours of direct interaction, communication, coordination, and relationship maintenance. That's 10,400 hours over 20 years. That's 13% of your remaining discretionary time, 13% of the most precious resource you have. But relationships often require much more than 10 hours per week, especially if you're living together or spending most weekends together. Let's be more realistic and say 20 hours per week. That's 20,800 hours over 20 years. That's 26% of your remaining discretionary time, more than a quarter of what you have left. Now, if that relationship is wonderful, fulfilling, enriching, maybe that's a fair trade. Maybe spending a quarter of your remaining time on a great relationship is worthwhile. But what if the relationship is just okay? What if it's mediocre? What if it's disappointing? What if you spend a quarter of your remaining life on someone who doesn't enhance your happiness, who doesn't add value to your days, who might actually decrease your quality of life? That's not a fair trade. That's a tragedy. That's wasting the most valuable resource you have, time you can never reclaim, on something unworthy of it. And here's the thing about relationships after 60. They're very likely to be disappointing for all the reasons we've discussed. The dating pool is problematic. Men come with baggage and health issues. The dynamics often fall into caretaking patterns. The compromises often aren't worth it. So you're taking a significant gamble with your limited time. You're betting a substantial portion of your remaining life on the hope that this relationship will be good enough to justify its cost. And the odds are not in your favor. Let's think about this another way. What else could you do with 20,800 hours? What experiences could you have? What could you learn? What could you create? Who could you become? How could you grow? You could travel extensively. You could visit every place you've ever wanted to see. You could immerse yourself in different cultures. You could collect experiences and memories that enrich your life. You could master a skill. You could become fluent in a language. You could become an accomplished painter or photographer or musician. You could write a book. You could create art that expresses your vision. You could deepen your relationships with people who truly matter. Your children, your grandchildren, your close friends. You could be present for them in ways you never had time for before. You could create memories they'll treasure after you're gone. You could volunteer for causes you believe in. You could make a difference in your community. You could leave a legacy of service. You could impact lives in meaningful ways. You could pursue education. You could study subjects that fascinate you. You could take courses. You could read extensively. You could become an expert in areas that interest you. You could prioritize your health and wellness. You could exercise. You could meditate. You could practice yoga. You could work on your mental and physical health in ways that extend both your lifespan and your health span. You could simply enjoy being alive. You could sit in your garden. You could watch sunsets. You could listen to music. You could savor your coffee. You could be present for the small, beautiful moments that make life worth living. All of these options are available to you if you're not spending your time and energy managing a relationship. All of these possibilities open up when you're not obligated to someone else's schedule, preferences, needs, and crises. Now, some people would argue that life is richer with a partner, that experiences are better when shared, that relationships, even imperfect ones, add value to life. Maybe for some people that's true. Maybe some people genuinely need partnership to feel fulfilled. But for many women over 60, especially women who've already had long-term relationships, the evidence of their own experience suggests otherwise. They know what marriage was like, they know what partnership required, and they know in their honest moments that they're happier alone. They have more time for themselves. They have more freedom. They have less stress. They have more peace. They have more autonomy. They sleep better. They laugh more. They cry less. They feel lighter, freer, more authentically themselves. And yet society tells them they should want a boyfriend. Society tells them they should be seeking partnership. Society treats their single status as something to be pitied, as a problem to be solved, as a deficiency to be remedied. Society is wrong. Your time is too valuable to waste on disappointing relationships. Your remaining years are too precious to spend managing someone else's life. Your energy is too limited to exhaust it on someone who doesn't deserve it. You have a finite number of days left. You have a finite number of hours left. You have a finite number of moments left. Every single one of them is irreplaceable. Every single one of them should be spent on something or someone truly worthy of it. Ask yourself this. On your deathbed, when you're looking back on your life, will you regret spending your 60s and 70s alone? Or will you regret wasting those years on a mediocre relationship? I've worked with enough elderly women to know the answer. The ones in disappointing relationships almost always wish they'd left sooner. The ones who chose to be alone almost never regret it. The women in disappointing relationships say things like, "I wasted my best years on him. I should have left when I first realized it wasn't working. I was happier before I met him. I wish I'd had more time for myself." The women who chose to be alone say things like, "I should have done this years earlier. I've never been happier. I didn't know life could be this peaceful. I wish I hadn't wasted time thinking I needed someone." Which group do you want to be in? Which story do you want to tell when you're 80, 85, 90? Here's another consideration: health. As you age, health becomes increasingly important and increasingly fragile. Your remaining healthy years, your years of vitality and independence, are even more limited than your total years. Right now, at 60, 65, 70, you might be relatively healthy. You can travel, you can be active, you can pursue your interests, you can live independently, you can do things. But that won't last forever. At some point, health will decline, mobility will decrease, energy will wane. The window of opportunity for certain experiences will close. Do you want to spend your healthy years managing a relationship? Or do you want to spend them living fully, pursuing your interests, having adventures, creating memories? The clock is ticking on your health as well as your life. The time to do things, to see things, to experience things, that window is limited. Don't waste it. Don't spend it on someone who isn't worth it. Don't let it pass while you're accommodating someone else's schedule and preferences and limitations. And let's talk about the opportunity cost of a disappointing relationship. It's not just the time you spend on the relationship itself. It's also the time you spend recovering from relationship stress, the time you spend processing conflicts, the time you spend upset about something he said or didn't say, did or didn't do, the time you spend trying to fix problems, the time you spend managing your own emotions in response to the relationship. A disappointing relationship doesn't just consume the hours you spend with the person. It consumes your mental and emotional energy when you're apart. It intrudes on your sleep. It colors your mood. It affects your ability to be present for other things. It diminishes your overall quality of life. And quality of life is what matters most at this stage. Not quantity of relationships, not checking the box of being coupled, not meeting society's expectations. Quality of life, peace, contentment, joy, fulfillment, meaning. If a relationship enhances your quality of life, maybe it's worth the time. But if it doesn't, if it diminishes your quality of life in any way, it's absolutely not worth it. It's a net negative. It's taking more than it gives. It's costing you time and energy you could be investing in things that actually make you happy. Let me share something I've noticed. The women over 60 who are genuinely happiest, who seem most at peace, who radiate contentment, are almost always single. They're not single because no one wants them. They're not single because they're too damaged or too difficult or too anything. They're single because they've realized that being alone is better than being with the wrong person. They're single because they value their freedom more than they value companionship. They're single by choice, and that choice has given them something precious: control over their own lives. These women wake up grateful. They go to bed peaceful. They spend their days exactly as they wish. They have rich, fulfilling lives without romantic relationships. They've discovered that the fairy tale we were sold, the one that says happiness requires partnership, is a lie. You can be happy alone. You can be fulfilled alone. You can live a rich, meaningful, joyful life alone. You can have deep connections, beautiful experiences, significant accomplishments, all without a boyfriend. And honestly, you're more likely to have those things without a boyfriend, because a disappointing relationship is a drain on everything. It drains your time, your energy, your happiness, your peace, your potential. So here's my question for you. What do you want to do with your remaining time? How do you want to spend your limited, precious hours? What do you want to experience? Who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? Whatever your answer, does having a boyfriend facilitate that goal or impede it? Does partnership move you closer to your vision of your life or further away? Does accommodating someone else's presence enhance your ability to live as you want to live, or does it compromise it? For most women, honest reflection reveals that a boyfriend impedes more than he facilitates, that partnership compromises more than it enhances, that the fantasy of companionship doesn't match the reality of relationship obligations. Your time is running out. That's not meant to scare you. That's meant to wake you up. That's meant to help you prioritize what truly matters. That's meant to help you say no to things that waste your precious, limited resources. Say no to disappointing relationships. Say no to mediocre partnerships. Say no to men who take more than they give. Say no to obligations that drain you. Say no to compromises that diminish you. Say yes to yourself. Say yes to your freedom. Say yes to your peace. Say yes to your authentic life. Say yes to spending your remaining time exactly as you choose, without apology, without guilt, without compromise. Because at the end, when you're looking back, you won't regret being alone, but you might very well regret wasting your precious time on someone who wasn't worth it. Don't make that mistake. Your time is too valuable. You are too valuable. Life is too short to waste on disappointing relationships. So there you have it. 5 brutal truths about why senior women over 60 should think very carefully before having a boyfriend. You finally escaped the burden of caretaking after decades of serving others. The dating pool over 60 is genuinely problematic, full of men with serious issues, limited self-awareness, and extensive baggage. Your financial independence is too valuable to risk when you no longer have time to recover from financial mistakes. You've finally discovered who you are, and you don't need to compromise that hard-won authenticity anymore. And your time is limited and too valuable to waste on disappointing relationships. I know this message challenges everything society has told you. I know it contradicts the narrative that women need men, that happiness requires partnership, that there's something wrong with choosing to be alone. But society's narratives aren't designed to serve your best interests. Society's narratives are designed to maintain traditional structures, to keep women in service roles, to prevent women from claiming full autonomy over their own lives. You've spent decades serving those narratives. You've spent decades being the good wife, the good mother, the good daughter, the good woman who put everyone else first. Now it's your turn. Now it's your time. Now it's your opportunity to live life on your own terms, answerable to no one but yourself. Is that scary? Maybe. Our culture doesn't prepare women for self-determination. Our culture teaches women to define ourselves in relation to others, to find meaning in service, to measure worth by how well we care for people. But you're 60+ years old. You've lived long enough to know that those teachings don't serve you. You've lived long enough to see through the illusions. You've lived long enough to know what actually brings fulfillment, and it's not sacrificing yourself for men who don't appreciate it. Being alone is not the tragedy society makes it out to be. Being alone after 60 can be the most liberating, empowering, fulfilling experience of your life. It can be the culmination of everything you've worked for, everything you've survived, everything you've learned. You can create a life that is entirely yours. You can fill your days with things that bring you joy. You can nurture relationships that enrich you without draining you. You can pursue interests that fascinate you. You can rest when you're tired. You can be productive when you're energized. You can live according to your own rhythms, your own values, your own vision. This is not settling. This is not giving up. This is not resignation. This is choosing yourself. This is honoring yourself. This is claiming your right to live freely, independently, authentically. Does this mean no woman over 60 should ever have a boyfriend? No. If you meet someone exceptional, someone who genuinely enhances your life, someone who respects your autonomy, someone who adds value without imposing burden, someone who is truly worthy of your time and energy, then perhaps a relationship makes sense. But that man is rare. Exceptionally rare, and most women would be better off not wasting their time searching for him. The brutal truth is that most women over 60 are happier, more fulfilled, more at peace without boyfriends than with them. The brutal truth is that the fantasy of late-life romance rarely matches the reality of late-life relationship dynamics. The brutal truth is that you've earned the right to be selfish with your time, your energy, your resources, your life. So before you download that dating app, before you tell your friends you're ready to meet someone, before you open yourself up to the dating pool, ask yourself, why? What am I actually hoping to gain? And can I get that in ways that don't require giving up my freedom, my peace, my autonomy? More often than not, if you're honest, the answer is yes. You can get companionship from friends. You can get purpose from pursuits. You can get meaning from contribution. You can get joy from experiences. You can get everything you need without inviting a man into your life with all his expectations, demands, issues, and baggage. You've worked too hard to be free to give that freedom away lightly. You've survived too much to put yourself back into situations that diminish you. You've learned too much to ignore what you know, that your happiness, your peace, your fulfillment, these come from within, not from having a boyfriend. Before I let you go, I want to remind you that if you found value in this video, please hit that like button. It helps this message reach other women who need to hear these truths. Drop a comment sharing your thoughts or your own experiences with relationships after 60. Your stories create community and help other women feel less alone in their choices. Share this video with friends who might benefit from this perspective. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do so now and hit that notification bell so you never miss our content. We regularly publish videos that challenge conventional wisdom and provide honest, research-based insights into relationships and personal empowerment. And for those of you who want to support this work, who want to help us continue producing content that tells uncomfortable truths, please consider leaving a super thanks. Your support makes a real difference. It allows us to keep researching, writing, and producing videos that don't follow the traditional narrative. Videos that actually serve women's best interests rather than society's expectations. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being open to these brutal truths. Thank you for valuing yourself enough to question the narratives you've been fed. Your life is yours. Your time is yours. Your freedom is yours. Guard them carefully. Protect them zealously. Don't give them away to someone who isn't worth them. You've earned the right to live exactly as you choose. You've earned the right to prioritize yourself. You've earned the right to say no to anything and anyone that doesn't serve your highest good. Be brave enough to claim that right. Be strong enough to defend it. Be wise enough to honor it. Until next time, remember, you don't need a boyfriend to be happy, fulfilled, or complete. You just need yourself, your freedom, and the courage to live authentically. Take care of yourself. You deserve it.